Welcome back to another episode of Drinking in the Dark with Frugal Tiger. I am drinking Dogfish 90-minute IPA. I really like the beer. Grab yourself a drink and let's get started. One of the big things I want to talk about before we get into normal trading is a hedge fund actually blew up this past Friday. It wasn't so much a hedge fund as a family office that was managing quite a bit of money. Apparently it was Bill Huang's family office. If you type his name into Google, the story's actually pretty interesting. He was heavily margined on Chinese stocks. If you guys watched this week, Chinese stocks had quite a trading week, and they've been constantly going down. And at one point, JD was as low as $75 a share. PDD, I think, hit like 119 at one point. NEO was like $34 a share. So his fund was apparently very heavily exposed to these names, along with Baidu and several other Chinese companies, and they're 40% off the highs. His strategy involved a lot of leverage. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you this is there was a day where I was completely floored at some of the moves to the downside some of these stocks were making. The reason I want to point this out is this is one company blowing up, one family office. And, back when we had the March crash last year, that crash actually took off a lot of points on the S&P, but hedge funds blew up when we were only 10% off the highs. So this goes back to something I mentioned 2 weekends ago. If you're on margin, if you're trading these Chinese names, don't trade them on margin. It's a scary world out there. Try to really, I used to use margin all the time. I've really scaled back margin use, except for an intraday basis. So keep all that in mind. It's like the wild, wild west out there when you're trading Chinese stocks. I just personally recommend using call options if you're going to buy to the long side, or using put options if you're buying to or betting against the name. It has me a little bit worried about the overall state of the market in the future. If we have just a slight drawdown in the market or a couple of names, we could see more family offices or hedge funds blow up. And that'd be scary because just one blow up caused some of these stocks to drop so low. Viacom, watch Viacom. Because Viacom's tape on Friday, I think it closed $46 a share at some point, and it was $100 a share like 3 days before it hit $46 a share. They actually say a lot of the drop was due to the fact that Bill Huang had to liquidate his Viacom exposure and a few other things. And there were just not enough people there to purchase the stocks back. So just be cognizant. Don't have too much exposure to one name, one sector, whatever, if you're invested heavily in the market. Or, if you're day trading, you probably have to worry a little bit less about these types of situations. Anyway, let's focus on the names that I want you guys to look at once again. I basically discussed the Chinese stocks. They're still in play. Watch NEO, watch JD, watch Baidu, PDD, P. Diddy. The other name I want to mention is Alibaba. And the reason I want to mention Alibaba and talk a little bit further about some of these Chinese stocks is the SEC is actually investigating Alibaba right now. So let's pay attention to the tape. And the reason they're investigating, they want these Chinese companies to follow the same accounting rules that US companies are following. They're not following the same accounting rules. There's more of a potential for fraud. I know third-party, companies like Deloitte and all these other accounting firms are auditing the balance sheets of some of these Chinese firms. I just never felt like it was a super safe investment without using options. Yes, I was trading NEO, just buying the stock without options, but going forward, it's only going to be through options contracts. Delisting might turn out to be a big deal, might not affect the tickers immediately, because I think currently the delisting rules will require 3 years of not following US guidelines, and then they'll get delisted. But we don't know. This is kind of big news. So pay attention to all Chinese names. We'll add Baba to the watch list from last week on the Chinese names. Potentially shorting opportunities, but also you could potentially make money taking the other side of the trade. And what do I mean by mentioning this? Bill Huang's fund blew up. He had to liquidate all of his Chinese shares at low prices. There could be an opportunity to take the other side of the trade because he was forced to liquidate. He had to sell at whatever price he had to sell it at. Take a look at NEO. It's $34 a share. It was at like $68 a share a month back. I have some exposure to NEO right now. I bought a little bit on the dip. I don't recommend everyone do it if you have heart problems and things like that. You can buy them, you can short them, but whatever you do, just watch the tape because it's going to move one way or the other. I know for the longest time I mentioned Palantir, Space, Mara, Plug, Fuel Cell. A lot of these names have been taken off my watch list. I have a very large exposure to Palantir. That is an investment. That's not a day trade. That's not a swing trade. That is an investment. I feel the overall market's frothy. Palantir could get cut lower. But it's one of the few names I'm willing to take the risk on because I just don't know where else to put my money for investment purposes. But my exposure to Space, I have a much smaller investment in Space than I do in Palantir, but I have an investment in that. These names have not been moving higher. In fact, they've been just dripping lower. I'm probably not going to buy the dip on Space. I will be buying a little bit more Palantir as I get the opportunity to. But the overall market tape seems a little weak. So all these names I was talking about for months, they're officially off my watch list. I'm not watching Fastly right now either. One other name I want to point out, and that's because it's not breaking out, but I might add it to my investment portfolio. Ticker symbol LMND. I have a slight position on it, pretty much the same position I have on Space. They're a brand new insurance company and they're very tech driven. So they'll have fewer costs than most other insurance companies. LMND, I'm adding to a slight position in it as an investment, not a day trade, not a swing trade, whatever. And the other thing is they have a huge advertising campaign, which is usually bodes really well for some of these tech names. Okay, so a couple other things I want to mention. A lot of these names that I was puzzled with the moves on, like Viacom, watch the tape on Viacom. It is having some jaw-dropping moves. Watch the tape on MongoDB and Roku because they have dropped so much. There could be a chance a buy the dip moment on this, but it seems like the market is not buying the dip on any of these names, MongoDB and Roku. And also a name like Space, ever since it blew up, at not their actual space shuttle, but ever since the stock blew up, it was at like $51 a share. I think Space even hit like $60 a share. It's been cut in half. So the reason I mention this is usually a drop like that is because of just incredibly rampant speculation, either by retail investors or something similar that happened to Bill Huang's fund. Probably could have happened to another fund that was heavily exposed to Space and they were just forced to liquidate. So I'm not sure if these Chinese names are ever going to get their bid. Space does not seem to be getting any sort of bid back at this moment. And that's something you have to keep in mind, that these names might not get their bid back right away. So right now, while everything's fresh, I think it's important to still watch the Chinese names. Maybe it'll turn into Space where after the huge drop, it just keeps going lower. Potentially a shorting opportunity, or after the big drop, there is just public interest and you see some speculative action. PDD also had an upgrade from analysts. I know I don't read too much into analyst upgrades. Goldman Sachs, I think, gave an estimate of $200 a share. PDD is $130 a share. JD.com is actually pretty loved too by analysts. So, sorry, I just completely went back to that. So I'm going to stop talking about Chinese names. I just wanted to correlate what I felt about Space blowing up, potentially happening with the Chinese stocks, where it's pretty much been a month since Space had its huge drop, and no bid has been caught really on Space. Okay, so outside of that, watch MongoDB, watch Roku. The other thing is that I wanted to mention something else. Shit, I completely forgot. Damn it. Okay, anyway, let's just go right into earnings anyway. So earnings this upcoming week, we have Tuesday, we have Chewy and we have Lulu. Watch those two. Those are probably the only two good trades on Tuesday, nothing really worth watching Monday, so watch all the names I discussed earlier for Monday. Wednesday, we have a Play, Dave & Buster's, ticker symbol Play. The reason I'm mentioning this is a Wall Street bet name, so Play is probably very useful to pay attention to, and MU. And then on Friday, we have Carnival Cruise. Carnival Cruise has broken out around 26. It dropped after hitting 28, but it is a play on the reopening. Just pay attention to it. Coronavirus numbers have been going higher, but CCL might break out from here. We're done with earnings right now because next week is kind of slim pickings. So the other names that I kind of want to mention, DigitalOcean IPO didn't go particularly that well last week. I would still pay attention to it. This could be a late bid after IPO week. We could see some bidding of DigitalOcean as well as Vizio. Didn't really catch that much of a bid. The other thing that I want to mention is this week we have an IPO. What is the IPO? Coursera. Ticker symbol COUR, Coursera. It's going to IPO on March 29th. So pay attention to that. I don't know how good it will do. So the expected day is this Monday. But that is probably the only IPO that I'm really paying attention to for the upcoming week. So we went through earnings. We went through IPO calendar. A trade that I kind of want to mention is I actually sold off all of my AMC around $13 a share. I actually saw it go up to 14 before dropping down. AMC, if you guys have the money free and handy, I'm not saying buy and hold AMC. I am actually suggesting you guys watch this tape. I personally think the stock is heavily overvalued, but it just seems like every dip is met with relentless buying and, from the Wall Street Bets crowd. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this continues to perform. Definitely on my to watch list is AMC. I'm actually staying away from GameStop. I made quite a bit of money on GameStop a few weeks back. I was holding it around $44 a share, sold it a little over $100 a share. I only had 300 shares, nothing major. It was a little too gambly for me. I sold AMC as well, but I think, honestly, it is a great day trading name for the time being. Almost every day I'm watching this tape, and there is a perfect entry to get in and to get out and make good money as a day trader. So pay attention to AMC. I thought I'd bring that up. I forgot to bring that up last week. I actually, when I sold AMC, I think it's been probably, it wasn't even last week. It was the week before last week. So it's been some time since I sold AMC. But yeah, that's more or less it. It also seems like the names Mara and Riot have finally dropped lower. The entire cryptocurrency space was hit, but these things tend to drop lower than their corresponding cryptocurrency portfolio. Watch everything very carefully. I'm actually legit worried this April we might see a bit of a correction, free up some cash, maybe even consider, if you can, if you think you got the cojones, maybe even consider planning a short campaign, a very, very short campaign. Because with all the money printing going on, it's just really hard to stay short this market. So I'm not shorting right now, just heavily watching the tape before I make a large change in my game plan. That's it for me. I hope you guys had some insight this week. Once again, I know the market had a pretty good run even on Friday. I would still recommend you guys get off a margin if you're on margin. And that's all I really have to say. Not much going on this week. Watch the Chinese names. And, best of luck. And see you all next week. I just want the money.